The purpose of this video is to demonstrate creating an express test. When you log into SchoolNet, your first step will be to go to the Assessment Admin tab and click on Create. Under the Create an Express Test tab, you're going to click Start Now, and then you're going to enter the test details. The name of the test, which we're going to call this Trial 1. You're going to choose the subject that the test represents, and we're going to say cosmetology, or let's go to mathematics. And you'll select the grade levels that this test is appropriate for, and we'll say 6th grade. And if it's a grade range, you'll change the ending range here. And then you choose the test category. It can either be my classroom test, it might be a school test. In this case, I just have access to my classroom, but you will have access to a school assessment. You'll need to decide whether or not your unanswered questions will be part of the score. Do you want to include those or not? So I'm going to leave it to include. If a student does not answer a question, it will be counted incorrect and be part of the score. And our score type is going to be how it's displayed in all our reports, and we just want a total score. And then what standards document is used to align your standards, and you can change this later if you choose, and we're going to align this to the mathematics standards. And this section here talks about the answer key only option, and this generates only the answer key without any questions and answer choice content. There's no actual question stem or choice. This simply allows you to be able to have students to enter in answers, but they don't actually see the test itself. And finally, there's an option now to enable your assessment notes, which allows you or an administrator to add notes on how well the assessment worked and how effective it was, and any type of notes that you want to put in there. Okay, once we've done that, we go to our initial item settings where it says enable text formatting. You can use whatever item settings are within the item that you're pulling in. And then the multiple choice answer choice layout. Is it going to be 1 column or 2 columns, or just use the settings that were in the actual test question? And then you can enable tools and manipulatives. If you say yes, it's going to ask you which tools and manipulatives you want to enable. And perhaps I want to enable a 4-function calculator. Actually, since it's 6th grade, let's say a scientific calculator. And then for test item settings, do you want students to be able to comment at the end of the test? Do you want them to be able to comment on each item? Do you want to, if you're going to use answer sheets, you want to be able to capture your comments back to students? And do you want students to be able to self-assess? And then lastly, do you want to hide item content from the test results? In other words, if you're going to reuse that test, you might not want anyone to see the items or its content after you have given the results. So at this point, we're going to select our standards. And let's say that we're going to be working on geometry. And then more specifically, we're looking at 6.G.A.2. And I'm going to click on that, and it's going to then, at the bottom, it's going to say add to test map. Now, if I say that we're not only working on A.2, but we're also working on A.3, I can select more than one standard to be represented on my assessment. I'll add to the test map. But here are the 2 standards that I've selected. And perhaps maybe I only want 5 questions for each standard. What I would do is, as a rule of thumb in practice, I might say that I want 8. Even though I only want 5, that will allow me to have some additional questions that I can go through, and perhaps maybe there's a couple on there I don't like, so I may be able to select the best 5 from each standard. Again, just a rule of thumb to use to make sure that you get what you want on the test, because these questions are pulled randomly. So then I click on the Build Express test. And so all of my test questions are listed here. I can go to actions where I might edit a question and say, I really like that, but I would rather them use a different terminology, or perhaps I want to have different answer choices or something of that nature. I can simply go in and edit the test question just like we've done on previous assignments. All of the questions are aligned to the standards that we selected. And the tools that are enabled are here. As a default, we set the scientific calculator as our tool. Perhaps maybe for this question, though, I want them to have a compass as well. I can add that for that particular question. So if there are particular questions that you don't want, you do have several action items, or if you want to make any modifications or edits to the test. So view will just allow the item details to pop up, and it includes all the properties and item statistics, which we just did. So just want to go through each of these options for you. And here we're viewing a test. We can preview it and see what it looks like if students were taking that test with manipulatives on or with them off. In this case, it will bring up a full screen of what the test looks like. And then we can delete the item from here if we like. And I'm going to take us back to the previous page. If we go into edit, we can do, just like I suggested before, editing the functions there. That edit that has been added to a test, it changes only that item within the test. It's not going to appear in the district bank or the school bank as that item that you've edited. The other thing that you can do here is you can replace an item that you would like to replace on this test with another item. And so when you do that, it takes you back out to Item Central. Here's an item that assesses the same standard. We can remove the item from the test. And the other option is that we can turn the timer off when the online delivery of a test is designated as time. When we select timer as off, it will pause the test clock for the students to respond to that particular item. Perhaps you may have a timed test and there is a specific problem that you don't want to be timed. You can turn the timer off for that item, and it does not resume until they advance to the next item. The next step here will be to schedule your test, which is in a different assignment altogether.